So Garrett, you do know how to play bass, right?
No.
It's the Garrett and Andy Show. It's the Garrett and Andy Show. We are very cool and we have big muscles. Yeah, with Garrett.
Yeah, my name's Garrett.
With Andy. I'm Andy, that's my name. We talk about book and then we talk about politics. Oh wait, never mind, it's just about book. It's the Garrett and Andy Show. It's the Garrett and Andy Show. We are very cool, we have big muscles. Yeah. It's the Garrett and Andy Show. It's the Garrett and Andy Show. And now we are going to sit down and do very cool things with the Garrett and Andy Show. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Hello, and welcome back to the Garrett and Andy Show. My name is Garrett, and I'm Andy, and we're the Garrett and Andy Show. Today we have two very special guests we're actually going to walk on very soon. So Robert, please give a hand for Salt of the Sea. Hold on. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. How is that even someone's name? Dude, we're live. You can't say stuff like... Here, I got it. Everyone, please give a warm welcome for our guests, Salt of the Sea, and... You guys can walk up now, you know.
Dude, they're books. They're not gonna move.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Looks like we won't be interviewing them after all.
Man, screw y'all. We're out.
Wow! That was very cringe! Crying Laughing is a book that follows the adventures of high schoolers Kendall, James, Logan, and Carlos. A bunch of musically gifted friends who actually get the chance to go to Hollywood with a record deal. And soon, Wait a second. This isn't the plot to my book Crying Laughing. This is just the plot to the 2009 critically acclaimed film Big Time Rush. Excuse me, but I'm gonna go read up on the correct book. I have successfully read up on the plot to my story Crying Laughing by Lance Rubin. Crying Laughing is actually a book about a girl named Winnie Friedman, a sophomore in high school. She's a naturally kind, carefree, and most of all, funny person who likes to crack jokes with her friends whenever she can. One of the best parts about the book is how it's non-stop jokes. It's just constantly funny. But what really sells it is how it can go from being super lighthearted and funny to being kind of depressing and sad, and it gives you that real pit in your stomach. But now that I have your attention, what's your book about, Garrett?
Salt of the Sea is about a group of 4 people and refugees that escape Prussia from the Soviet forces. They encounter many obstacles as across the freezing Prussian land. They make their way to the Wilhelm Gustloff. If you didn't know about the Wilhelm Gustloff, there was like 1,800 people supposed to go on it. 10,000 people sank.
That does not make sense.
I know. Overall, in this story, it goes around 4 characters. Amelia, a 15-year-old girl who's actually pregnant.
That's nasty.
Joanna, she's like a pretty girl nurse kind of girl, you know, kind of pretty.
That's nasty.
Florian, he's a young Prussian, and he's actually carrying an amber swan.
That's pretty cool, guys.
Yeah, from the Amber Room. The Amber Room. Not a lot of people know about it, but the Nazis stole from it. And, most of all, Alfred.
That's nasty.
He's a 17-year-old Nazi who always wants Hitler's approval. But he had this girl back home named Hannelore. He outed her for being a Jew. So I guess he ended up where they went.
Wow, that was not sad at all.
Dude, you're crying.
No!
On the bright side, if your book is as funny as you say, I guess it'll be Crying Laughing!
That's not even fun! One of the huge shocking moments in the story actually happens super early on. Winnie is persuaded by her friends, and a boy she may or may not be into, to join an after-school improv troupe, even though she swore to never return to comedy after she totally bombed her set at a comedy festival years before. So, in typical high school fashion, she joins and has a rocky start out, but slowly begins to build up her comedic genius. And by the time it's finished, she goes home and feels awesome. She can't wait to tell her family when she gets to the dinner table, and then she finds out that her dad has ALS.
Whoa!
Yeah, crazy, right? The dynamics in this book range anywhere from making a joke in the lunch line like, the lunch lady and I were platoon mates in Vietnam, and I saved her life. Twice. To, I know nothing about anything. From mocking stereotypical California accents to say, that's like totally cool of you to say, to, turns out I could feel worse than I already did. These lines are super important to the story because they establish a good connection between the high points and the low points of the story. If your story only has high points, well, they don't feel as strong. They feel more dull and don't hit as hard. And if your story only has low points, well then...
That's pretty interesting. But do you know what's cooler? What? You know, one of my favorite quotes in the story is by Joanna, you know, the nurse lady? What a group we were. A pregnant girl in love, a kindly shoemaker, an orphan boy, a blind girl, and a giantess who complained that everyone was in her way when she herself took up the most room. And me, a lonely girl who missed her family and begged for a second chance. You know, I really think that this shows conflict in the story about how all these people are put together because of this war and how many people are hurt. Another great quote, I think, is, two warring nations gripped Poland like girls fighting over a doll. One held the leg, the other the arm. They pulled so hard that one day, the head popped off. This quote from Amelia shows how the country she's from is being tortured due to Soviet and Germany's antics. And our final quote coming from Alfred. Yuck. Before this war is over, all men will have an opportunity to reveal their true selves. This quote from Alfred is actually quite ironic because he's thinking that he's on the right side and he would be showing his best, but obviously that didn't happen because he's, you know, a Nazi. Andy, it's your line.
That's great, Garrett, but now it's time for our mandatory ad break so we don't take up too much time. Finally!
But stay tuned, everyone. When we'll be back, we'll have the incredible Carl Zeus to discover the world's biggest questions. Here's a preview.
So Carl, thank you so much for being on the show with us. We just had a few quick questions to start you off. Who asked?
It is simple. No one asked. No one cares.
No one.
That makes sense. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Okay, that makes sense. But Carl, tell me, who's in Paris?
Hi, my name is Cameron Kim, and I did in fact break Andrew's hair straightening. By today. You gotta help me. My coordinates are north 34.56 degrees, east 39.
Hey, hi, what's going on? So welcome back. When we were on the ad break, we actually found that we spend most of our budget on these mugs right here. But I didn't care anyway. It was worth it for the mugs, so I'm alright with it.
Fortunately, though, this means we have time for a new segment,
Audience Questions! Woo! Time for our first question. Have any suggestions? Read it.
What is the connection between this book and another text?
Excellent question. But first, we actually need a change in our music. Do you know how to play guitar?
No?
Cool. That changes now. Now play. Crying Laughing connects a lot with the book Flipped by Wendelin Van Dronen. Both stories center on young people and their day-to-day drama with school and family. But more importantly, it flips! This is what who the narrator is super often. Each chapter flips between two characters and how they perceive life. The boy being more stern and serious about things, while the girl is more upbeat and cheerful. And that's what represents Crying Laughing so well. The frequent, unexpected changes in how you feel. Anyway, let's flip! Over to you, Garrett. This is what comedy looks like.
Alright, I know what people are going to say, but how can I not compare this to the Titanic? Yeah, the Titanic sank in 1912, and this is in World War II. But there are true comparisons between these two novels. First of all, they're both based around a giant boat, but Salt of the Sea is talking about the struggle to the boat, and Titanic is just talking about the boat. But the similarities are that both the boats sink unexpectedly, and there is a big deal with love in these two books. And we actually have one more question. Hold on, are you playing Clash right now?
No?
Oh, okay then. What is the final question?
Is this a good choice for the class, and how does it connect with the real world?
The book would be great for a school read because of all the reasons I've mentioned before, and also because it's a pretty recent novel that downright targets the teenage demographic with things like this plot, mood, and, most of all, language. I have seen many things. As for how it connects to the world, the larger conflict that connects the book is the depressing stress spiral that teens can undergo. Through the story, Winnie progressively breaks down because all of these problems that mess with her. Saving her friendships, her family on the bridge of breaking up, and having an on and off relationship with a typical high school frat boy. Personally, I can't relate to that last thing I just said, but I would bet that most teens suffer from this kind of stress.
I think this book was really written well. But do I think that it needs to be in our curriculum? Well, no. First of all, it's a book about treachery and death, mostly through the book. And it only survives in the end. I think if you're interested in historical fiction and war, it's a good read. But for a required book in school, no. For how this connects to our world, in an issue today, the boat that they're on, the Wilhelm Gustloff, is randomly attacked by Russian torpedoes without warning and ended up killing a lot of people.
This actually has nothing in it right now.
Another issue today is, well, Russia invaded Ukraine. And civilians are getting bombed without notice by Russian troops. And it's horrible.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that's kind of dark. This is a comedy show, you know that, right?
Yeah.
And that just about wraps up everything that we want to say today. Here are some long, overcomplicated closing words on each of our books.
Book good. Very cool. 8 out of 10.
Very epic. Just wish there was more Among Us references. 2 out of 10.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us.
And make sure to tune in next time to see if we can defuse this bomb that's set to explode the Earth in a few seconds.
Hang on, what'd you say?